Okay, welcome everyone to the regular council meeting of Monday, March 9th, 2026. And the meeting is being held in the council committee room at 1394 Pine Avenue in Trail, BC. And via Zoom live meeting commencing at 2 o'clock for the committee of the whole meeting, and then immediately followed by a closed council meeting and reconvening at 6 p.m. for the regular council meeting. And just so everybody knows, we do have a little bit of construction going on next door, so if you hear some banging or not, we might have to speak up a little bit before, okay? But it's all good stuff that's going on next door. So the link for the webinar for the committee of the whole is below, and you can find that on YouTube. And also for the regular council meeting, it is also posted on the YouTube. So I'd like to call the meeting to order, and the first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda for the regular council meeting. Is there someone to make that motion? Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. And a resolution to resolve into the committee of the whole, please. Thank you. All those in favor? That was carried. Thank you. So we do have a number of delegations today, and the first one up is Brian Stefani and from the Trail Roslyn 2026 BC Winter Games to give us an event summary.
I just asked David to get on one of your meetings early, just to express our thanks. David from day one, like he's been on the committee over two years now. And just fantastic, anything we needed, even in his change of jobs, David was the one either to facilitate it or get it done for us. And the other thing I just wanted to say thanks was to Brendan Oglo and Mike Bonaccio of the Trail Memorial Center. Once the game started, unbelievable. Like we're meeting up from the floor laying of the Trail Memorial Center to any little thing. We have some traffic problems. Just fantastic. So I just want to say thanks to council, number one, for bringing the games to the area. The reports I've got from coaches and other community members during the course of it, here and in Castlegar and Roslyn, was just fantastic. I mean, we couldn't ask for better weather. There's nothing like loading buses or hurting kids when it's raining or snowing out, and it was just great. If you don't know, we had a big event on Friday night at the arena. Really well done. It was like a carnival style. I think it's gonna be something carry over in the Silver City days. And then the second night, the kids, we walked them all the way from the arena along the Esplanade all the way over to Charles or the Bailey Theater now. And again, long-term council thanks, because the Esplanade is a beautiful spot to walk, and it was also a beautiful spot to have our buses all parked up. We had one time almost 30 buses there.
Yeah.
And walking through that part of the trail, showing the people of the river. Like Colleen said in her opening speech, both the bridge was lit up. So if you look on social, there's a lot of pictures of the trail bridge with the river, like a lot of pictures from kids and coaches. I just, like I say, I really want to just, before you guys move on to your next big event, just take the opportunity to say thanks. It was really well done, and can't say enough about your operations staff at City Trail, like say Brendan and Mike at the center, and David just started coordinating. Everything was just really cool. And I can't believe the shape of the plywood, the OSB left over from the whole around with 20 years ago. Right, so you guys basically have a floor now for that year-end ice, the Silver City days and crowd. And we had one of the legacies we got. I was talking to Brendan. He goes, "You guys get OSB at $20 a sheet. We got it free at like 12." So we kind of always on the side. So it really is probably, but it was just great. And the smoke heaters, like I know you're a little bit removed from smoke heater, but they were fantastic as well. BC Game staff in Victoria just absolutely impressed with Trail Memorial Center. They were just, you can't even imagine what that would cost nowadays. When you talk about the Austin pool being $35 million just to replace the Old pool.
Yeah.
Facility like the Trail Memorial Center is like a gift. Curling rink is right there, that kitchen, the gym. It was a hub. They've never had that before. It's always food is over here. Opening ceremonies, there's a lot of travel. This one was again there, everything's there. So on behalf of them, I'd like to express our thanks and both.
I know thank you, Brian. Well, we want to thank you too, but for all the work that you did. There's so many people to thank, and everybody just you know, jumped in and gave 100%, and we certainly don't want to miss anybody out, giving them thanks, but it was an incredible weekend, 4 days for everybody. I never heard any complaints whatsoever about anything. It seemed to flow very well, and you guys should be very proud of that as well.
And,
Yeah.
you know, just, you know, when I came here, earlier in the year, I think Paul asked about number of volunteers, we're on track. If 1,200 was operational, we almost ended up with 1,700. Like it was, we probably got another 200 in the last 2 weeks, and so, you know, again, there's a community, you know, so I've been opening speech for why people coming back there. It's got a pretty good track record. I'll be honest with you, I never heard any complaint. The only incident we had was a marketing truck, the guy that was selling t-shirts got locked in without a code at 5 o'clock on Sunday. That was our biggest, trying to get someone in there to lock them up. Everything else was, schools were good, like I said, didn't have to worry about snow, because that was, we had pages of contingency plans with, you know, David and the city of Boston, what's gonna happen, and that it just went off without a hitch, so.
That's great, yeah. Anything from council that you wanted to say to Brian before?
Yeah, so just outstanding, the feedback from the community and the emails that we've all been getting, I think it's just been wonderful, this recognition, and thank you to everybody who's participated and all the work that they've put in to make this happen.
I remember for instance was, local food banks. That's awesome in the area. Wendy Robinson was our director of food services, made sure that any food, went to the local food banks daily, so. I know Lawson, I just had some letters from City Trail one, but Lawson reached out to us as well, just really helped, and even some of the at-home in trail, you know, after the student event or the athlete event, we had pizza left over that went to Shelton and that, so just, you know, a little side benefit to the community, things like that. And our work now is the legacy, what are we gonna do with legacy items, and I think I've talked to David, but I have requested banners for City Hall here, Trail Memorial Center, the curling rink, the field house, as well as the archives. Just so you guys can have some of those little banners that are hanging up in the streets and things, just so you can have, and if you don't want them, that's fine, but we thought we'd make the whole cities and all the sport venues priority for us for building up this banner, so.
So,
Awesome.
so, before you go, and speaking of the food, we do have a letter here from, Mary Lynn Rackison, the Trail United Church Food Bank, and I just wanted to read it out to you. And she says, "Dear Mr. Stefani, thank you for the support to the community for the leftover food which was distributed to community organizations. Some of the organizations which received were Trail United Church Food Bank, the Beaver Valley Food Bank, the Roslyn Food Bank, Jayla Crow Cooking Program, the local elementary school, Sanctuary, the Teen Drop-In Program, Salvation Army, and the outreach workers delivered to the homeless shelter and others in the communities. Everyone who received food were very appreciative. So your volunteers in the kitchen were very helpful and assisted with the pickups in the evenings and the morning, and their assistance was appreciated as well. Sincerely, the Trail United Church Food Bank, Mary Lynn Rackison, and the coordinators."
Awesome, consistent. And like I said, I heard at one point there was sort of like more food, like it was just the way we had ordered, and the kids expecting 5,000 calories a meal, and we're down to somewhere. The gymnast, I'll tell you, one of the biggest eaters with the young U8s. The men's rhythmic gymnastics, those guys can have it very. Some of the other guys, right, that's anyway, just thanks again, like it was.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got quad to area. I think it was good for businesses, if the downtown, of course, seemed busy, same with Rawson. I drove the trail curling like, 25 years ago, and I haven't seen any of that packed. And it is a great facility, like it's just, and the kitchen, like I guess enough kitchen renovations. The new stoves and things like that. I think you got a real gem in that Trail Memorial Center. Growing up, we used to be on the premier arenas, but as a facility, I can't imagine what that would cost to replace, and it's just all in one hub. It's just a great space, so. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Yeah, see you later.
Thanks for coming in. Thank you.
All right, have a nice day.
Okay, so next up, we have the Trail and District Arts Council presentation, Amelia Ewart, Trail and District Art Council. Hi.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Brian said, so we had 900 athletes come to our theater for 2 shows. Amazing showing, not only by the volunteers, but the kids themselves. Like, they cleaned up after themselves. They were respectful to our performers. They exited in a very calm and lovely fashion, like beyond impressed with everything that happened. So, job well done. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amelia Ewart. I'm the Executive Director for the Trail District Arts Council, and I'm about 8 weeks new into this role. Very new, very excited, very grateful to be here. Thank you for having us. Today we want to share a snapshot of what the Trail and District Arts Council has been doing, where we're headed, and how we can continue building a vibrant, creative trail together. So I stepped into this position inheriting a strong strategic plan, and I see so many opportunities within it. Opportunities to modernize our theater, to continue being a supportive home for community organizations, and to expand youth arts programming. Youth arts programming is very near and dear to my heart. This is where young people learn to perseverance, teamwork, communication, the soft skills that really shape who we are. So while I'm new, I'm already deeply invested into building these pillars. We've had some staffing changes recently. Nadine has moved on, but is still supporting us with transitioning this role and helping to finalize our upcoming season. We also have Deanna, our wonderful new box office manager, our new bookkeeper, Nicole, who helps us twice weekly and has been doing a wonderful job. And I'm, of course, so grateful to our continued seasoned staff, like lovely Vicki Jones over here, our marketing and rentals manager. And I defer all questions to her. We are a small but mighty team, and we are dedicated, passionate, and committed to serving this community. Our vision and mission, as you see there, we've refreshed our vision to better reflect who we are and where we're going. We want to be the arts hub for our region, a place where artists love to play, where staff feel inspired and rewarded, where our affiliates feel supported, and where every community member can find something meaningful to enjoy. Our mission focuses on accessibility, inclusivity, and diversity. We champion local artists and cultural organizations, and we serve as a collaborative hub for creativity and community connection. We also want to give people access to varied performances from the whole world. And through the Bailey Theater, we present both professional and emerging artists, ensuring that arts remain vibrant and accessible to the greater Trail area. Our collaborations. I want to acknowledge our strong partnership with the City of Trail. We are so proud to collaborate on Silver City Days, Spooktacular, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. These events show how deeply TDAC is woven into the cultural fabric of Trail, not just inside the Bailey, but out in the community side by side with the city. Now the fun numbers. Here's a quick look at what we've accomplished in the past year. 77 shows at the Bailey and at the Griff, plus 16 movies at the Royal Theatre, 9 Music in the Park events, including a new beach dance party and an inclusive night market. We supported about 20 affiliates and artists, both with grants and in-kind help, including 3 artist residencies, which was a first for us. We completed our strategic plan with support from a CBT advisory grant, and we sold over 25,000 tickets. This is including both ticket sales for our renters and our own performances, with $788,000 in revenue, and that includes over 30% in grant funding. And our venues were almost in use for 180 days. These numbers just show a community that is engaged and hungry for arts experiences. Slide, please. Music in the Park. So, Music in the Park continues to be one of Trail's most beloved traditions. On our biggest nights, we draw more than 2.5 thousand people. Families, seniors, visitors, young people. It also has a real economic impact on downtown businesses, with people stopping off at food venues and bringing their dinners to the park. We pride ourselves on paying industry standard and equitable artist fees. which, as we all know, are on the rise, as well as increasing production costs. Funding is now becoming a bigger challenge for this event. So we asked for a donation. It is a mostly free event, and as we know, it is not free to produce. First second, which is talking about the evolution of music in the park. So to ensure we're able to continue the series, we're exploring a shift in 2027 to 4 supercharged nights throughout the summer instead of every week. This would allow us to focus resources, build on bigger events, and strengthen partnerships. We're looking at collaborations with other organizations for things like our night market, remarkability, food festivals, things like that. Go to the next one. Triple Threat. So Triple Threat continues to be our most exciting youth program. Enrollment is growing, the productions are exceptional, and the team leading it is extraordinary. We have enough interest now to do 2 age streams. We have a junior and a senior program. This program builds confidence, leadership, and community interest, and it's more than just performance training. It's a pipeline for the next generation of artists and cultural workers. This year, we're putting on Newsies and Annie for our junior program, and it built up in under 3 hours. We actually had to open 5 more spaces for our senior program. And from this, we were actually able to hire an additional staff member. And one really cool thing is that 3 of our staff members were former campers, which is very cool. So we're very excited to have them on board. On that slide, please. We're building on the momentum with new youth initiatives. One thing that we are creating is called the Sound Lab, a teen band camp and battle of the bands. This will give young musicians real performance experience and mentorship. We're also exploring more training opportunities to help youth develop creative and technical skills like a YouTube camp. This is all hopefully going to be going forward in 2027 as we plan the curricula. And now the path ahead. So looking ahead, we're focusing on accessibility, modernization and community support. We received a $75,000 grant through the CBT to make our section of the building more accessible. We're implementing electronic ticketing to reduce environmental impact, streamline operations, and improve patron experience. We continue to expand diversity in programming. We're committed to keeping the Bailey affordable for all patrons through keeping our show prices low for everyone and even offering our 30 and under half price ticket and being part of the community access card program. Also offering reduced rental rates to local organizations and supporting them through affiliate grants and training funding as well, both for youth and adults. And we're exploring an incubator theater, which will help local playwrights develop their shows. So in closing, I just want to say the arts are not a luxury. They are essential to the community. Economic vitality, civic pride, these are things that we can get from the arts. TDAC is so proud to serve the Greater Trail area, and we're excited about what's ahead. With your continued support, we can build a vibrant, inclusive, creative trail together. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
If you have questions, email. Again, still learning, so can give you some information, just wanted to be correct.
Go ahead, Councilor Benson.
Thank you through the chair. Just wondering if there's an update on the Steinway.
Oh, yeah, of course. So, she's happily polished in the spa. So we can't move it until temperatures are certain.
Okay.
Warmth, I guess. It will sort of undo all of the work that has been done. We are in a great place financially. We've confirmed that we are able to cover that expense, which is wonderful. We've had an amazing community participation. Actually, we just had an amazing donation from Ray, who gave us $3,000 for the piano. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, why you're here to correct me on this. Yeah, so that is hopefully going to be coming in May.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just, the roads are the tricky part. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Any other questions from council?
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
being here today.
I know everywhere to Newsies, by the way. Your song.
Yes, tickets will be on sale soon.
You're staring at it. There you go.
Here we go.
Welcome, John.
Welcome.
So here. Yes, I can.
Yes.
Let's do this side.
Okay, welcome you guys. Thanks for being here today. Um. I don't really have a agenda here. I don't know if you guys wanted to start, or we could start just to give council a little bit of information on this is through the major tax committee that myself and Councillor Wilson and Councillor Martin and Elizabeth Clare sit on. We've been having discussions about the tax that Tech is paying right now through the city of Trail, and we just thought it was time to have them come in and do a presentation for us so that all of council could hear the information.
Introduce the two.
Sorry?
Can you introduce the two?
Oh, sorry.
Right.
Sorry, has everybody met Matt Perla, the general manager, and Richard Dean?
Yes. Manager, permanent commercial community and indigenous relations.
I knew the big one. So have you met everybody around the table?
I think I've met everybody.
Jared
Yes. Yeah,
is
met
gonna-
Jared, yeah.
Okay,
No. Yeah, I think good to meet you. That, Betty.
okay. Ready? Okay, go
Okay,
ahead then.
perfect,
Thank you.
okay. Yeah, so, thank you, Mary Jones, and council for taking the time and giving us the opportunity to speak, so I just got a couple of notes here, there's way more stuff I did not intend on saying though. So I want to talk as well, just to provide an update as well about trail operations, both the progress that we've made, particularly over the last year. As I know, I've come before many of you in different forums, but also as a council just on trail operations over the last year, as well as the next steps that we're looking to take, both not only for the site, but also the community generally and what our role is within that. So as you're all very familiar with, the refining and smelting business is a very cyclical business. It's a global market. We here in southeastern BC are competitor with the rest of the world. And it's important, I think, to just remind everyone that a financially viable and resilient trail operations is critical, not only to Teck Resources, to this community, and we understand that. And while 2025 was a much better year for us than we'd seen in the past, and most recently the previous almost 6 years. The fundamentals that exist within this industry, they really haven't changed since I spoke to you last. The global market continues to be very tight, scarcity of mine supply, concentrates, there's an increasing rate of refined capacity happening, it's primarily in China, that's where most of the capacity in the smelting business is, that's continuing. What is actually quite recent though was increased capacity potential that's been announced in our own region, which is the North American market. And that was through the announcement at the end of 2025 of Korea Zinc, who is currently a competitor of ours, announcing their intent to purchase and to modernize and invest in what is an existing small smelter in Clarksville, Tennessee, owned by another company. Treatment charges as well, as I talked about before, like that's the cost that a smelter can charge a miner for treating their material, continue to trade at record lows, and that's continuing to shape up that way for the foreseeable future. There has been some very recent articles about what the settlements are for this year. They haven't been published specifically by us, but they are in line with what we saw last year, which are sub $100, so more in that $80 per ton range versus what they've historically been in the years gone by of more than $200 a ton. And they're really some of the main margin drivers for smelters. As well, much like we all see as residents of this country, geopolitical tensions are constantly changing. Seems to be changing by the hour or the day. At the same time, for many of the products we produce, we're seeing some opportunities there. So some of the byproducts, products like germanium, silver, they are in fact trading at historically record pricing levels, which has allowed us to take advantage. And that was part of what was our story last year. But those can come and go as well. They are cyclical as well. And from a cost position overall, what hasn't changed, irregardless, is where we stack up in global cost curves. Trail operations is solidly in the fourth quartile on cost, and it has been since 2019. That has not changed. We need to be in the top end of the second quartile, or very much in the bottom section of the third quartile to remain competitive in the long run. that is the strategies we have in place. We cannot continue to have a viable business that sits in one of the highest cost structures in the industry, and that is very, very real. What I will say, as well as what helped us for 2025 was we pivoted quite substantially from what we've done in the past. You all are very aware of the cost reductions that we did undertake. Unfortunately, we did have to reduce staff. We did have to have some layoffs as a result of that. We've also substantially reduced our spend on third-party resources, primarily contractors and consultants. And because of that, we've been able to substantially lower our input costs. We've also made changes in our supply chain and also the operational adjustment. We did not run the site at full capacity last year, and that was intentional. That was to try to meet a profitable output while managing a cost structure. So our overall production last year was just shy of 230,000 tons of what is our capacity of 300,000 tons. At the same time, as I said, we did maximize byproducts. So we're doing so, and we were profitable because of our ability to treat stockpiled historical feed supplies that exist on the property today. We were not going out into the market to buy feed at uncompetitive terms. And that, as I mentioned last year, that is not a sustainable strategy in the long run. Like, there is a point where that material will be fully consumed and we will be fully exposed again to the global market. What our strategy is to balance that and to gradually expose ourselves again and to continue to enhance our cost competitive position to be able to handle all those cycles. We face uncertainty around tariffs at the moment. All of our products are USMCA compliant. That could change. So we manage that. And like any other business, any other municipality or government, we're preparing ourselves for what are those strategies for next steps. While 2026 is important, my job is to keep this site viable for the long run and look at the next 5-10 years and what that outlook is. So when we talk about our position as well, with the Anglo-Teck announcements, there were also commitments that were made through the ICA process. We also need to prepare for that. And that's potentially expanding production of more critical minerals like germanium, antimony, potentially adding gallium as a new product to our facility. That will help us in the long run. At the same time, we will use those investments to modernize the facility for the feeds of the future, as well as invest in automation and other technologies that help us in the cost curve. That is real. It is what we're going to need to do. And importantly, we're looking at all aspects of our costs, which is ultimately why I'm here today. And we are talking to all levels of government, not just municipal costs. So when it comes to the piece around property taxation, so like any other ratepayer, we're just asking to be heard. Trail Operations currently pays 60% of the city's total municipal taxes. And as a percentage of municipal tax, this is the highest of any community in the province of British Columbia. To support our long-term viability and to reduce the city's reliance on a single taxpayer at that level of exposure, we are seeking to gradually reduce our share of municipal tax from the current 60% to 50% over the next 10 years. We are very well aware of fiscal responsibility to the city. We want to be and want to continue to be a good corporate citizen and member of this community. And that's why we believe in doing this gradually over the longer period versus like a one-shot shock to the system. We fully believe and support paying a reasonable and responsible share of municipal tax. We are not suggesting otherwise, but we remain deeply committed to being a good neighbor, a stable employer, and a strong community partner. And we need to do that to be viable and also to ensure that we're helping the city remain viable in the long run for itself as well. I'm happy to take any other questions that you have, but that is our ask today.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Does council have any questions?
I just made a comment
Sure.
more than a question. I kind of had something prepared here, but to go from script. Hold on. I just want to thank both of them for coming in, Mr. Perla and Mr. Dean, for the presentation. And I think the request to review the allocation for Big Bear Industry is a reasonable one for council to consider as part of our broader tax strategy discussions. For 130 years, Teck Resources and the smelter have been a part of the DNA of Trail. In fact, the operation predates the incorporation of the city by 5 years. generations of families have built their livelihood around this relationship. Because of that long history, I believe it's important that we approach these conversations with respect for that relationship, while also ensuring that we are building a fair and sustainable tax structure for the future. So thank you to you both for coming in. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. Councillor Benson, had another?
Through the chair, not prepared and not written script, but maybe a question for Richard. How much investment was given to the city, different community groups, et cetera, last year? Cause like the tax is one piece of it, but just thinking of how you support the different groups that we have and the different events that we hold. Do you know offhand?
Good question. Unfortunately, I don't have the number offhand, but it would be in the hundreds of thousands
Yeah.
range. And then we sort of do two levels of support. So one is sort of regular annual ongoing support for quite a large number of organizations, a lot of those based in the city of Trail. And then also we do bigger parcels of support every few years for specific things that the cities is doing. So in the past, that have included things like Riverfront Center, even those tax support arrangements, support of the hospital campaigns,
Right.
those types of things are generally one-off bigger numbers, and those happen every few years or when the city's undertaking those.
Thank you.
We can get you that number.
Yeah.
Or we have it, we just don't have it offhand, it's a good question, but we send the communication to all of our employees on what our annual.
So I probably should have it somewhere.
Well, no, the reason, but it's a good, but I think it's a good question, because even some of our own employees don't understand always like what we are doing. We tend to want to be we'll say a high-do organization,
Yeah.
and we felt it was important for our employees to actually know where
Absolutely.
the efforts that they employ every day, where they go in the community, so we can get you that number for sure.
Thanks, Matt.
Actually, I think I received an email from Jane on the highlights of the community investments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Hanson.
Thank you to the chair. Mr. Pillar, you mentioned that you guys are in the the bottom of the fourth quartile. And that it's because of the cost being so high. Can you just share a little bit why the costs are high? Is it based on our location or based on access comparatively to where you guys want to be, and what did that look like for costing?
Sure, so our cost structures simplistically is made up of three main pieces. We're a very high fixed cost organization, so our costs are primarily made up of energy. So it's a very high use of electrical energy, so that's a main cost driver. Labor is by far the highest cost. And the last being transportation and logistics. So the fact that we've been here for 130 years is fantastic, but the costs of bringing material in and product out are a substantial uncompetitive place in comparison to many of the others in this business. Most of them are either directly near a mine supply, or they are right on tidewater, where access to material flow in and out is higher. I tend not to focus too much on like why our labor costs are high. I think that's a piece of being effective. We enjoy the fact that we're a Western producer. We are happy to provide good paying jobs and to benefit, the society that we live in comparison to some of the places in the world where this business is. But that is a major cost driver for sure. It's really those three categories.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Martin.
Well, thank you. Just to the chair, just a comment, being a participant on the Major Industrial Taxation Committee. I just want to say, I want everybody to know how professional and respectful you guys have been during these conversations, and it's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Is there any other questions? I don't know. Is there his hand up? Councillor Butler, did you have a question? No. No, okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
Right
you.
there.
Aye.
If you're reading that.
I'm not sure.
Fair, but not fair.
Yeah, I'm not sure it has the number to write.
Thanks.
How are you?
Looks like our next
delegation isn't here, but I thought we could always just move ahead with, Mr. Minor's, discussion on while we fill the time.
Oh, okay, so then let's move up to the departmental verbal reports.
Thank you, your worship.
Okay.
Council, thanks for having me this afternoon. Despite the one current non-show up, with the additional delegations, we chose to compartmentalize all the groups into one. So we're gonna get a bit of a snapshot for today, which very much includes the second version of the apology for the additional noise next door with the abatement going on in council chambers. Start off with that being a bit of my update. So we have incurred a bit of delays in terms of getting the abatement going. So I do appreciate the patience with dealing with it during today. Because it took roughly 2 weeks out of our schedule to get them here and get this sorted. So we have delayed our installer Sapphire by 1 week. So they'll be here now instead of March 16th on the March 23rd. So we still may meet your deadline, Councillor Cashall. But there's a lot of things between now and then. We'll do our best.
No pressure.
Well, I tend to apply the pressure myself anyway, but yes, we'll do our best. So moving on quickly, to grounds and roads, one piece, our invitation for tender for the flower bed maintenance and planting and maintenance contract is closing this week. So something exciting to look forward to in the coming weeks. Along with the wonderful weather we experienced this weekend, we have also made the transition from winter hours to summer hours in grounds and roads, so our plowing folks are back on regular day shifts. We've already scheduled our spring cleanups. I think it's already gone out to the community. April 13th to 19th, and our street sweeper is already back into heavy duty rotation, cleaning up the roads in the area. Leveraging a lot of the work we did earlier during most of the winter, where our parks are looking fantastic. I'm noticing the grass is already starting to grow. So we're starting to get ready for our spring activities, including fertilizer and first mows and all of the like. Big excitement news for this year. We've already awarded our sidewalk maintenance contract for this year. We're gonna be able to address a lot of the residual issues in our sidewalks for the city. So that's an exciting thing for us to be able to catch up on. And work up at Beliski Park is back in full swing. So we barely had tools down up there and we're back at it already, getting ready for this year's event. So very excited to see that wrapped up. It's going to be an amazing facility. I can pause at different departments if people want to ask questions, or I can roll through the whole thing and we will come back later. What is your preference?
Is there any questions? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Benson.
Thank you through the chair. Just a question on the sidewalk maintenance contract. Do you have like a list of all the ones that are?
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks through the chair. So annually, we have an inspection done by Safe Sidewalks Canada. They come and identify all of our multi-levels of priorities throughout the city. They've been doing so for a number of years and will continue to do so, and that allows us to address the priority areas in such fashion. And this year, we're going to catch up a little bit on some of those identified priorities.
And if there's a sidewalk that, like in a neighborhood that, a resident has an issue with, would they just email the city, or
Yeah,
if there's maybe one?
Marks will
Okay.
take a look.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay,
Only Mayor, but just to be clear, that if the neighbor calls about theirs, it may not be on the list, it may be something that needs to be dealt with right away. It doesn't mean that because like all.
Yeah.
Okay, this is honest, everyone's clear.
I'll have to call you.
Yes, we have strict criteria and yes, along this. Moving on to utilities, a big week this week up at the water treatment plant. Our transfer pump that we had refurbished, was reinstalled earlier in the week and is operational, running great. To the point where we were happy and removed transfer pump 2, and now that's off for maintenance as well. Several lift station repairs over this last period, but nothing out of the usual, more just annual type maintenance. And relatively low in terms of the emergency call rates. I feel like I shouldn't say that very loudly. Things have been going very well. That's about it for utilities.
Okay. Any questions for utilities?
Okay, purchasing mechanical, very exciting, our carpentry shop roof repair is complete. So they were able to come and finish the fascia and soffit areas this last week. Looks great, we're looking forward to the repairs that are upcoming at the RCMP building. We had the ability to do another 4 days last week of user training for different equipment, so that an opportunity with the great weather, it doesn't hurt us so bad being down with people in training, so we were able to get a bunch of our newer crew and expanded user training for forklifts and Zoom rooms and all that wonderful stuff. The other piece is our BIS software. I know BIS probably doesn't mean anything, but we're procuring a software to help manage our safety records and safety programs. A long time coming, we finally just started the implementation of that, and so in the coming months, hopefully we'll reap the benefits of having a little bit better sorted information. That's about it there for purchasing mechanical.
Any questions from council? No?
Okay,
Okay.
we'll move on to facilities. So I think, I'm not gonna count how many times we've heard this already today, but the hosting of the BC Winter Games was very successful. You're gonna hear it one more time before I'm done. But you know, from Brendan and Mike and the crew at TMC, they were very, very, very gracious for how it turned out. Lots of good planning. I always appreciate where the lead up is very frantic and everybody's very concerned, but then the actual event itself passes by with little to no noise. It was just very well executed. In the words of Brendan himself, a true test of every aspect of the TMC, where every room was being put to use at one point. So good on the staff there, including the new kitchen upgrades. Some great feedback on how well that performed during the games as well. The other initiative we're in the middle of right now is our dressing room upgrade. So kind of in the middle of it, rooms 3 through 6 have received their new doors and privacy division. Seems to be working well. I will say I've actually heard commentary in the line of Ferreros about the fact that there is no longer, you know, the ability to spy on folks when they're in the dressing room, that there's more privacy, so it's even impacted our communities. All in a positive.
Give up that?
In a positive context, I should be careful. Thank you. So dressing room number 10 is currently being modified and should be done with here within the next week or so. Including the last piece was this is a dedicated men's washroom on the lower floor. So very good news there.
Great.
Somewhat quiet for the last little while, but it'll be coming back into the hearts and frames as our heat recovery project. So our heat pump skid should be commissioned the week of the 16th. This will allow us to start using our waste heat from the oil plant to heat our domestic hot water. And then we're making a plan to review the rest of the schedule for the rooftop unit installs and wrapping up that entire project. And that's it for facilities.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Martin.
Thank you through the chair. Just to verify, we got plywood now, we got a cover for the ice. Where did we store that?
Thanks through the chair. That was a very interesting, multifaceted conversation between very different user groups. So traditionally, we've stored the OSB up at Public Works and the Brown Bar. Logistically, that makes it somewhat challenging for the rig to make the transition. So they were urged to see if there was a way to reallocate space to have it stored on site, and they were successful.
Awesome.
So they were able to find a spot to store on site, which should help reduce the effort in making any transitions in the future, which is again, something when we tested, although there was a lot of volunteer help when we did it for the BC Winter Games, but the level of effort was far less than anticipated in making the transition to and from the ice. So looking forward to having that offer to our community. Thank you.
Great.
Me too.
I see concerts happening in the arena and
Sounds lovely. Hot summer day, that'll be a well conditioned area. So last but not least, Parks and Recreation, so this is the last time I'll talk about with BC Winter Games. But our support of the game and their athletes, Cal, was very successful. Received multiple points of good feedback about how courteous and supportive the staff were in supporting the athletes getting their swim and shower times. I guess this question came up a little earlier in regards to the spring and summer leisure guide. So that is in its current final draft, focus, and registration for those programs is starting on March 24th. So let me issue in. That's all I have for now.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councilor Benson.
Just a comment through the chair. I was hosting for the rhythmic gymnastics group and they just loved the aquatic center. It was the favorite part of their time here, so.
Three things.
And thank you for the information on the flooring. No, I'm this.
Oh. Okay, if there's no other questions for Jared, then we'll move on, please, unless. No, okay. So we'll move on to the staff reports. And we have the monthly report, the bylaw enforcement report for February 2026, the building department report for February 2026. And the recommendation is that council consider and resolve to receive those for information. Thank you, Councilor Benson. All those in favor? Thank you, and that was carried. UBCM Local Government Development Approvals Program for 2026, and we have a report from the Manager of Planning and Climate Action regarding a funding opportunity from the Union of BC Municipalities for the Local Government Development Approvals Program 2026.
Good
And
afternoon.
welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This evening, staff are requesting council resolution to support a staff submission of the Local Government Development Approvals Program grant funding, LGDAP for short. This grant program through UBCM initially started in 2019 and is now in its third round for application intakes. This would provide the city with up to $200,000 in grant funding, which can be used to fund 100% of a city project and is intended to streamline a community's development approvals process. The city is proposing to pursue this grant funding for a few items. First, to aid in the creation of the finance department internal and public facing resources, as well as addressing the 42-year-old 1984 subdivision regulation bylaw, a bylaw that sets engineering standards around subdivision and development within the city. This process would also include creating public facing information guides, which could accompany our website implementation. And further, we would be using these funds to conduct targeted outreach with the development community to communicate these updates and build the public understanding of the city's approach to streamlining approvals. As far as policy support goes, the draft OCP highlights our subdivision regulation bylaw as an item that requires a significant update. Further, with the new OCP policy implementation expected later this year, and a revised website being implemented, staff expect some form of increased interest in local development. This grant opportunity serves as a great project to prepare the city to communicate effectively with both the development community and the general public, while the main intent really is to streamline future development proposals.
Great, thank you. Is there any questions? I think this is perfect timing. We've done so much work to establish a planning department to say. I mean, after hiring you, working with our OCP, I just think it's something that's really important and something that we've been working towards. We've talked about, you know, streamlining our building permits and all of that before. So I think this is something that will really benefit it. So thank you for the information that you shared today. Okay, is council ready? Go ahead.
I just have one comment for council on this, just due to the deadline that this application was put in.
we need a full council resolution at today's meeting, so this will be brought forward to our regular meeting this evening, and will be under further consideration, so we can get that resolution for our application.
Yes, through the chair, so the March 13th deadline, so we're
Okay.
moving it forward to make it in.
Okay, thank you. So the recommendation, if council doesn't have any questions, okay, we'll move forward with the recommendation. And that is that council endorse the submission of a grant application to the Union of BC Municipalities Local Government Development Approvals Program in 2026. Intake for up to $200,000 to support improvements to the city's development approvals processes. And further, that council endorse the proposed project activities as outlined in this report. And further, that council supports the city of Trail utilizing the grants and providing overall grant management if the funding application is successful. Thank you, Councilor Hanson. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Grace.
Okay, and with that, okay. We'll move on to, Mr. McClure's update on the 2025 budget process.
Share my screen here. Where is it? So we had an opportunity to hear from general manager Jennifer and then Mr. Dean, just on sort of what's happening at Tech and so for me, I just wanted to follow that up, just sort of like with the effect of what's gonna happen, or with the I think what most people want to know or hear about is how does it affect me? And so, again, today it's just a conversation. It's a tax strategy to reduce this reliance on a single taxpayer. And we heard today from Tech, and I think we've spoken before, as council has known, that Tech Resources Trail Operations is the city's major industrial taxpayer, and that they are paying in upwards of 60% of the municipal taxes. Again, remembering that they also pay a portion of our RDK taxes. And we've talked as well that unlike the regional district and school and hospital taxes, is that the changes in assessed value is what sort of reallocates in those different tax entities what portion of taxes are paid. So again, when you're looking at Tech, and we'll see that later on when we're talking about the regional district taxes, is that they used to be paying upwards of 40 some odd percent of the RDKB taxes, but then as we saw in those graphs, it'll assessed value of homes just leaping up in the past 5 or 6 years, doubling, that you really saw a shift in that taxation go from mostly from the major industry into residential. So you've seen that, and again, over the last couple of years where residential taxes have basically sort of plateaued, and you have seen the growth in the assessed value of the major industrial entity. You've seen that tax shifting back to them. So these are the sorts of things that kind of weigh and flow. And what's different on that is that those are built by provincial multiplier rates that have, like I said before, as we've heard, haven't changed in 5 years. City of Trail has been on a pattern of no matter what happens with the assessed values, that the mill rate is set such that 60% is paid for by Tech, and then the other sharing ratios between business and residential, and then utilities, which are to make up 99% of the taxes that you collect. So those are also gonna it creates that formula where if housing has doubled, it doesn't mean that they picked up twice the amount of the taxation. which would have happened if, or there would have been an effect if that had happened, if we had the same formula that happens at the regional district, the hospital and school tax. So that's again where they're coming here saying, okay, we would like to talk about this. And so how does that work? And obviously the goal here is to discuss the development and implementation of a phased and sustainable tax policy to gradually reduce the city's reliance on a major industry tax. And then to, you're not getting it from them, you need to rebalance it across the other tax entities. Again, why implement it? Well, number one is pretty straightforward, and we've kind of seen it in the last little while where Tech has appealed some of their property assessments and been successful. Maybe not at the level they would like, but overall it has one of those challenges that if they were able to do that, it could in fact, if the way that we are set right now, it means that we can just either adjust it next year down so they would pay the same 60%, but it is one of those appeals things that kind of causes us some risk. And overall, as he alluded to, they've been successful in how they're operating right now. But if things change to a point where they had big struggles, that really puts the city's tax structure in trouble. So again, sometimes I say, well, 60 to 50, and it's like, yeah, it's still significant, but it is sort of that making that adjustment, I think, is something that should be considered. Again, one of the things we talked about is, and with us talking about it at the major industrial and trying to share what that might look like, is trying to look at 10 years to be able to make that sort of change. Again, it doesn't mean that it's not without its issue, and we'll show kind of what that looks like on the average home. But it is something that is incremental. And to be clear too, incremental in the sense of that tax shifting it also means that whatever increases that we have in taxes will be on top of that. So if we had, say, a 4% tax increase, yes, you would get that, but plus you would also get this lift each year as we made that a reallocation of taxes between business and residential, and coming down from what's happening with the industrial. Again, a broader, more diversified tax base we talked about, make sure that we're, even if the taxation numbers come from the industrial component are changing, that we are in a better place to handle those. And so that doesn't all of a sudden create a situation where we need to lay out a whole bunch of staff and cut back on a lot of our services. And I think they alluded to it, he didn't dwell on it, but when he was talking about where Trail sits as far as what amount of taxation that they glean from that major industrial entity, is that it's one of the highest in the province. And so there is some of those questions on fairness. And again, we will talk about the other side of this on reasons, the challenges of implementing it. And some would say, well, you've been here, you've been using the area or the water, the different operations. And so therefore, there is some, should be a part of that, but there is a question about fairness as far as if you're having one taxpayer being responsible for so much of the taxes, does it make you more responsible? Does it make the community look further? I mean, the city of Trail, I believe, does really well on the entrepreneurial side, whether or not it's the airport and some of the other activities that we do to drive some revenues that are different than other communities, and to try to take pressure off of our tax situation. But you could see a situation where someone says, well, each dollar that we increase the taxes by, if we know that industrial is going to pick up 60% of it, may not make you look at efficiencies as maybe that you should and could. The potential concerns and challenges, again, making sure that the implementation is transparent and visible, and adjusting the ratios over that time period. Also bringing into whatever other increases that you need just for general operations, and how does that numbers work together with, hey, we've got an increase in taxes, but we've also got a tax shift going. So that's not an easy calculation and something we need to monitor. Again, talk about the economic sensitivity. If our local economy weakens, increases paid by other classes could be more difficult. And of course, that certainly you have two individuals coming today. Tech is our largest shareholder, except they are kind of one entity. They don't come as the 8,000 residents of the community. So you've got sort of that more voices, I guess, maybe not in favor than in favor. There is one of the questions as well, is that if we are increasing, because obviously if we're be allocating these taxes out to residents and businesses, that the tax increase for a commercial business maybe becomes uncompetitive. I'm not talking about now tax per se, but we're talking about our small and medium-sized businesses that are here in Trail. And if that rate goes up, how does that put them for, do I continue my operations here? And then obviously the public perception challenge. Again, it's not lost on any of us. We talked about it at the major industrial, is the fact that, kind of repeating myself, but we've got one taxpayer under the major industrial entity, but you also have a community here. And the idea of making this change could be a challenge, could be unpopular. Now, again, I think that we can show that in doing it in a timeframe may take away some of that sting, but it isn't going to be lost on some of the community members here. So sort of a quick kind of math here on 2025 is sort of showing what where we're at for the collection of taxes for 2025. And you can see currently that the percentage of taxes that on our total that residential picked up was about 26.65. Commercial was about 70.68. You can see the numbers down below, 4.8 million and then 9.4 million. And then utilities kind of always maxed out at 40, and they're picking up about 12.52%. Then you can see the major industry is about, it's lower than 61, but on the numbers here, it's at 61%. And if you look a little further down, you can kind of see what the sharing ratio right now. So if you take up, okay, so if I'm a commercial property and a residential property, what between the two of us, how much are we sharing of those combined taxes that we reflect off to them? You can see that residential is at almost 78% and commercial is at 22.37. Average home at 406 based on our rate, not including the flat tax, but it's a $1,148. And a commercial property, I just picked one that had a value of $1 million. They all have different reasons for their valuations, but at $1 million, that's what a municipal taxes of about $6,839 is what you would see on the 2020 if your property was in that $1 million range for trail municipal taxes only. This does not include RDKB taxes, school taxes, BC assessment taxes, or the hospital taxes. Those are all on the list as well, but we're just focusing here on municipal. So if we were to say based on 2025, what if we moved 1% of that? And how does it affect the other taxpayers? And you can see here where that 1% would add about $38 or 3.29% increase to the average home. Remember, in the average home at that 406, you're gonna have some people that's just gonna be a little bit less of an effect. You've got $1 million home, it's gonna be a larger effect. Again, for the commercial property, again, on that 1% tax change, it's about $225 increase over the previous year. So that would be, say, for example, in theory, about the same. If we implemented that in 2026, you would expect that same sort of bump in 2026 between those two classes. Utility, they're still maxed out at 40, so there isn't much change there. They will pick up a portion of taxes that they always do, kind of that max 40 rate. Just so council is aware, the province has set that municipalities can't charge more than 40%. When we say utilities, we talk about Fortis, TELUS, and those kind of like they have strips of land or things. Because otherwise people might charge them like 80 or 90 times kind of thing if you could. So they've set it at, well, again, you'll notice we're at the max. So we're kind of collecting as we can, or we're allowed to, I guess would be the best way. So I didn't put a date on it, but if you were to say move forward to 2036 and all things being equal, no taxes had changed. I know that's not likely to saying to you, but if you're on that sort of time warp, this is what would it look like if major industry share of municipal taxes was at 50%. It's not quite, it's 50.2. It's not arguing about that. Again, you see that utilities is maxed out at 40. The commercial, you can see that it jumped, to 1.873, and residential is up 6.12. And based on that, the difference obviously on that allocation, that 10% is about $1.9 million. So that $1.9 million is gonna be allocated out to, again, mostly on the commercial and residential, because I don't really have much of a tool to get any more out of utilities than I'm getting. After that 10 years, just based on my quick math, it's not quite perfect. You could see that we're at 77 and 23, so it's not exactly the same as the numbers that I had above there, but that's sometimes just the size of them. And you would notice that on that average home that we talked about on just on the municipal tax rate, not including the flat tax, they're at $1,104,000, will go up $420. So, and that's a 36% jump, but that's over 10 years. Again, you can still see here as well, a commercial property, they're getting again of that size, 2.5K or $2,500 increase over that 10 years. So again, you're sort of again, like go back. You can see it's like 38 and 225, but that's kind of incremental each year. So you got 225 this year, 225 next year, ongoing until in 10 years, you know, you would be at a rate where that's where you'd be sitting. And again, remembering over those 10 years, what other tax increases, and again, this would also, it wouldn't be a case of tech not having an increase on theirs. They would also, the taxes would go up for everybody, but then there would just be this allocation. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that, but I'm happy to entertain.
Councillor Casa. I think you had your hand up.
Thank you, through the chair. The 60 to 50 10-year gradual implementation, was that Tech's idea, or was that something from the city's idea to follow that course?
Well, it was certainly something that I raised. I said, you know, much more difficult to do a one big full swing. And so I said, I think if we're trying to work with the community, and I think that they alluded to and heard, we don't have the number per se, but we know that they invest in our community heavily as it is. And I think that they want to be a partner with us on doing that. So that's where I think, you know, there is some history, maybe not here at Tech, but in our neighbors in Castlegar, where someone was not happy about their taxes and just basically kind of went in and dropped the bombshell on them and on that community, and it really kind of caused difficulty. So again, this is a process, and it's also one of those ones that I think it shows our willingness to work with them. I think that they're also cognizant that they are trying to do the best for their operation, so they're making some money as well. So these are sometimes kind of the spotlights that you say, like, well, hey, wait a second, if you're making good money here at Capital Operations, you know, why should we pick up any of the taxes? It's like, well, actually, if you're doing that now, if we do this shift while everyone's sort of in a good place, as things move along, that helps us to, you know, tell shareholders or tell operations we want to invest more in Tech Trail. They've also talked about some other ways that they can work with us, and in particular around equity potentially of helping us out with some properties that may be something that may, I hate to say the word surplus to them, but could be some other ways of us also working together to try to again, make this as a partnership. And you alluded to the fact that they've been here longer than the city of Trail. And so we want to see them here long-term for the community. We know it's the economic heartbeat of our region. There's no doubt about that, and I can say otherwise. So them not kind of wanting to go in with a one full swing kind of go for it, I think talks to their willingness and interest in being a partner in this.
Yeah, in principle, I think the 10-year plan, I appreciate that as an option. And then my final question through the chair. How does Trail's current tax distribution compare to other BC municipalities that host major industrial facilities? We're at 60%. What's
Yeah.
the norm?
Well, I mean, and those are that's some of the other work that I would, you know, and first of all, we were talking to them, you need to kind of talk here. I did find it a bit interesting for all the times that we usually have other attendees at our meeting. There was no other attendees. Usually we have at least some media at ours, but there was none. I did notice that the Trail paper did pick up that we were talking about the challenge of trying to see, you know, some tax shifting sort of thing. That was picked up in the paper, but trying to get the word out as well. But that's some of the work that I need to do as well. This kind of, you know, say here's some of the other communities where they're at. My understanding is that Castlegar is at 40. And I think it might have been lower, but then has changed as they've kind of gone up. But let me do, like I said, some of that work is what sort of we need to I think, share with the community as well.
Thank you very much, Mayor Jones. Thank you, Mr. McGuire.
Councillor Benson.
Thank you, through the chair. Theoretically, if amalgamation happened, how would that, number one, how would it affect their rate if they weren't going to reduce? If that makes sense, like adding more residential, would that lower it anyway?
Well, I
Does
mean.
that make sense?
I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, again, sharing that out towards others, I mean, again, that may be one of the conversations that comes in on, Warfield coming to us, like, do we need to be, chipping into this, or is this sort of, something that's sort of trail oriented, because you've kind of had the benefit of that higher, collection of taxes, like, those are all good questions. Because the other side of it as well, I would view that the trail residents gonna say, hey, wait a second, we know that you've got some problems over there on your, let's say water infrastructure and those sorts of things. So I see that there could be one, for a time anyway, as we kind of, if we were to come together and vote together, that there would be sort of a set of taxes to kind
Yeah.
of deal with sort of their
That's what
costs.
the consultant said too.
Okay,
Mentioned to
right.
us.
So that idea that, I don't know yet, but, I think anytime you can kind of spread that out. And then I'm also kind of, hoping, is there some other ways of opportunities to open up some property that may, again, create, some additional residential. I mean, 1984, we'll hopefully get that, in place, updated with a new development kind of plan, that maybe it might attract some, new subdivisions, which then could also spread off. In my mind, I'm also thinking about things like, debt. Again, we've still got, some big debt, and when I say that, it's going up for a number of years. But you will start to see some debt come off, whether or not it's for, the Skywalk and the Riverfront Center, so some of those things as well. As they come up and as you're making that change, you could see some, yes, I'm paying taxes, but oh, hey, now that's being, maybe not forgiven, but as part of the reallocation, it might give you an opportunity to lessen, that cost to the taxpayer.
Thanks. Okay, any other questions? Councillor Martin?
Just a comment, I'm just kind of concerned about how we're gonna present this to the public too, because it hasn't been really out there, and what's been talked about. I'm just, how are we gonna do that from the city's perspective?
Yeah, well, one, I'm hoping that some media picks up some of the slides that I have here. I certainly hope that on that average home, again, I know that not everyone has the average home, make the person that's a little bit less, yes, okay, I'm not, not as affected. But if I got a more expensive home, that they're, hey, this is, it's more than $400. It's, it's more than that, and that's not including whatever taxes we increases. So one, I'm hoping that in the same way that they picked up on my previous budget presentation, that we were looking at this, that now we start to see some numbers, so I'm hoping that my goal as well, much like Councilor Cashel talked about, was, being able to have some comparable kind of numbers. So my hope is that for our 23rd budget meeting, we sort of go, okay, here's what we're looking at for just regular tax increase. And by the way, if we were doing that tax shift, even the first year of it, here's what that would look like as well. So you get kind of that total effect. And yeah, and so obviously that would be coming on the 23rd, with hopefully, some either nodding heads or like the increase that you're looking for is too high, go back to the drawing board. But goal being, hopefully maybe that April 9th, where I'm having that public budget open house. Maybe not in time for our facility to be done, but anyway, we'll see how that plays out. But that's sort of where I want to get out. I expect that there's probably going to be some questions from the media. If the media is doing their job, I'm hoping that they're also,
From me.
okay, well, that's great. They missed the beginning part, so hopefully go back and watch it. So anyway, I'm just saying to you that conversation and the partnership and what does it look like down the road? We're in this situation to talk about it, discuss it. Council might say, hey, we're not ready this year. Maybe it's something that's next year. Again, I don't know how that lands with someone that's saying, hey, we want to see some movement here. But so again, those are all fair questions, but yeah, getting the word out, do the best that I can. You've been here, Councillor Martin, for a few years, and I think even at the other budget presentations that you're at as far as the AKB, don't get a lot of attention. It doesn't seem to be either media and
Maybe this
or
is your
people.
year.
Maybe this is your. We just heard that potentially we could use the large video screen that the Trails Art Council has. We could have a movie night. maybe,
Yes.
Or I could share the budget. There's some things we can do.
Maybe change the font. or
Change the
something, make it
font.
more-
Let me know how that goes. Okay.
Councillor Batson.
Thank you. Just one request when you do the comparables, just one thing to remember, like we talked about Castlegar, it's also not the high vision of every place in town. You can't see Selgar from anywhere in Castlegar, whereas it's a little bit different in terms of it's right in the center of town.
Yeah, it's a great question, and each community can be different.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing, both positive and negative, is because this has been a smelter town for a long time, you have some of the best assets in a small town of this size. You've got a great pool with tennis courts, pickleball, gym, you've got 2 sheets of ice, a curling club, a gymnasium. There are a few communities of this size that have those types of recreational assets, and so, and they cost money, and you heard from Mr. Stefani today, so he's like, people were blown away, they could come here, they can have basically most things sort of right center right here, food, opening ceremonies, all that sort of stuff. But it does come with a cost because they are older recreation facilities, cost a lot of money to keep going and repair, and we've done a good job here. But the fact that we've got 2 brand new sheets of ice with new cooling system, boards in both of them. I mean, those are long-term assets that shouldn't need to be upgraded for 50 years, and a lot of that's been done with grant money as well, or donation money, so I think that the city has done well, with what we have, and kind of keeping those legacy assets that came a lot of times from the fact that they were funded, or again, the big plaque, if you go into the TMC, you'll see it as kind of why you have it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cashel, I'm just going to move to Councillor Butler. He has a question and go ahead, Councillor Butler.
Thanks to the chair. Just to see how I'm clear. So one of the comments that was made there was negotiating with the city on their tax base. Would you be willing and open to other groups or organizations, residents associations, businesses negotiating with you on their tax base as well?
Well, sometimes a little bit difficult when you've got so many multiple individuals and or businesses that want to come. I mean, I think that that's probably what's, some of the questions going to be, right? I mean, there's going to be those questions from a lot more residents saying, wait a second, we're not excited about, kind of having this tax allocation, same as the business. And because those people have more of the votes, that's one of the risks. And it's one of the things that we've talked about at the major industrial side of it. The other side of it is, okay, so that's the response from the community. Oh, well, then precedent setting just for our neighbors down the road is we're not paying. Now, that's not what they will want to say or what they have talked about with us. I'm just saying to you that is a potential outcome, and by no means of it, is it sort of that's lording over us. Again, I look at it from a risk basis, and from one of the first times that I was in the seat, way back when, almost 4 years now, I said the risk of us having a taxpayer that's paying 63% at that time of taxes is risky. Bottom line, and people can be upset and they can say that's not fair. I'm just telling you that my look as what that CFO had on is it's risky.
Okay, Councillor
Yeah,
Castro.
just a comment on further to what Councillor Martin raised, there will be resistance. There's no question. But if this is done on a foundation of fairness, full transparency, and it's something that council will get behind, it's been part of our job is to sell it. And in principle, this does make sense at this stage of the game for me. So fairness and transparency, if we can incorporate those 2 ingredients in our delivery, then I think we crossed off the major hurdles in my mind. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Why?
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. Councillor Hanson.
Thank you, through the chair. My only thought is, if there was some sort of offsetting. How do we, because I mean, everything is going up. Our DFB requests are going up. What we need for infrastructure costs are going up. Our wages aren't necessarily going up the same. They're not matching what everything's going up these days. So where are our opportunities to regain that revenue, right? I mean, we only have so much land that's within the city of Trail. So what are we doing to incentivize people to do development so that we get a tax base? How are we helping builders or developers actually get shovels in the ground and do things here, because that's really the only way to increase our tax base. I mean, or, you know, industrial, we don't have, you know, with Metal Tech Alley, I mean, that's not within the city of Trails, so any other large industrial opportunity isn't necessarily gonna be coming back to us. So I just think we need to look at, if this was something that happened, what are we doing to make up that difference? Because we can't keep asking people for more and more and more, because I mean, there's people that are, they're getting tapped out. Right? I mean, the average people can get by, but one bad, you know, an accident or whatever, or someone loses a job, and we are dual income families in this area. And I think we just need to be really diligent about, okay, if this is getting offset here, where are we making it up?
In the future, and I think that that's one of the steps that council made in agreeing to get a plan out. And some of the other plans that we have, we talk about upgrading a bylaw from 1984. Talk about incentivizing and making sure things are streamlined, and then we are a place that's open for business, I think is a big part of that as well. But, you know, we can do that. These people still need help. I mean, and again, it's not lost on me. We've got a war going on, we've got prices going up on, you know, in different paces, and as we talk about prices going up, well, you know, when you guys are done here, we'll move on to the RDKB.
I just feel compelled,
Sure.
again, to add further comments. What we must do as a council is make decisions that are fair and that are transparent, because our decisions, there are other locations that look at what we do and what we say and how we conduct ourselves, and we're judged, is what I'm trying to say, not just within the confines of our municipality, but we are judged in the greater world. So it's just important that we really make decisions that are based on fairness and with sound reasoning. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hassel. I totally agree. I see that Councillor Butler has his hand up. I just wanted to say, and it sort of goes with what Councillor Hanson said. When we look at the province right now and what they're doing with their deficit, and they're taking funding away from the smaller communities, well, all communities, you know, what does that look like for us? How do we make it up? How do we make those kind of cuts to the fundings that we were expecting? How do we get that back to keep going forward? That's another difficult position that we're in, and we don't have the total concept of the exact cuts that they are making to funding that they're supposed to be providing to us. So I think that's something that we might have to look at in the future too. I mean, you know, those are serious funding allegations that we're not going to be getting, so. I will go to Councillor Butler.
Sure. Just another question through the chair. It was a little unclear there from Matt if he mentioned that he's speaking to other levels of government too. Our taxation group here at the city does not include representation from the regional district. Is that correct?
They went last year and presented to the regional district. And I've also been very clear with them that we are one taxpayer, and you know, when we met before, was showing about how the allocation of taxes and the pressure on taxes that are coming from the regional district. So again, one thing to come to the city, but we are only one entity on that tax notice.
Yeah, because that's just a point I want to sort of bring up, was that, you know, and just to make it simple numbers, you know, a lot of time you can get a tax bill for $5,000 to put it on a residential side of things, and you know, 3,000 of that is from the regional district. And so what I'm saying is that a very small trail taxes represent a small portion of your tax bill. And so I would just like to be assured or know that Tech is having these same conversations with the regional district, and what the regional district can do on their part for fairness, and not download it also onto the individual residential taxpayers of the region. I find that the regional district is just doesn't have the same amount of accountability and transparency, to Councillor Cashel's comments earlier, that some of the scrutiny that some of us will receive with requests like this. Thank you.
Couldn't agree more, Councillor Butler, and that's why one of the reasons I brought the next few slides that we'll go through. Is to kind of give the community and hopefully the media. The opportunity to look at this and say, hey, what's going on in other places as far as what they're happening with taxes and what's happening with the increases and maybe ask some of those questions as well, so. Not that this council should be, or not shirking them, I don't think that they are, I think we're trying to be upfront and transparent about how we do things, and so. But we just gonna move on to the regional district, if that's okay, Mayor Jones, if, yep, okay. So just we had showed before. Kind of, again, this is 2022, remembering 2022 is the last election year. We had a very small increase in taxation, and we had a number of big jumps. Now, we've kind of explained that in the sense that the biggest jump obviously was last year, and it had to do with the sewage treatment plant. We understand it's a huge project, got caught up in COVID. It's going to help the community overall, and it was a ministry mandate in the sense that you can't just continue to pour waste into the Columbia. So these are good things to have. You can see that increase, but you can also see that since 2022, you're at 13.5 million. You're now at 21 million. So that's over a $7 million jump in overall taxes. This is now, again, this is just the tax services that the city of Trails involved with. It doesn't include any of those in the boundary and those sorts of things. And yes, there's some that we do, like shared general government. We'll go through that. But they've come back after their budget deliberations, and they've before we were at 7% increase. You can see that that's now dropped down to 4.81. Again, and we'll take a look at this as we talked about before. One of the beneficiaries this year for a single family dwelling is the fact that with that increase, the increase in 2026 would appear right now to be about $21. Last year's a lot more, right? So it's just again a reminder that was majority of that was like again $254, but it was towards the majority of that went towards the sewage treatment plant upgrade. So again, $254 last year, $21 this year. And again, that's with basically the average family dwelling staying basically flat over 1 year over another. Kind of seeing where those changes are. You can see there's a fairly good bump in general admin. Solid waste is almost up 20%. And fire protection is almost up 10%. So again, you're seeing some huge jumps there. So the overall increase, and you can see, and I try to talk about the service numbers. So if someone was wanting to look through the regional district budgets, it's not easy to look at. But kind of on the left hand side, kind of what the service number is. The general admin, that's all partners are involved. We can look at regional solid waste, again, another one that's all partners, emergency preparedness. Again, but then you do see things like, the fire protection, that's only the East End 7 that's involved on that particular service. So when you break that down, like again, previously here, if there was $178,000 tax requisition increase on that, because all participants, and that would be again from remembering that the regional district, the Coogee boundary goes all the way from Big White all the way through Rock Creek, Beasley, Private Falls, I guess, all the way thick and all the way here to, I guess, basically Fruitvale would be sort of that area just outside of it. So we pick up that 37,000 of that 178. Again, we report a pretty significant payer into that 21%. We can kind of see again, so those numbers. We also have a pretty big increase here with the fire protection. So if we go back, we see the fire protection is up to $480,000. We're picking up 180 of that 40. So we are, even though here you've got a 7% increase overall, City of Trails component, because we are not in all of the service equally, because we have some are on our own, it's a 4.81% increase. And here's where we talked about it last time, and I think the council kind of gets it. So based on the new RDKB tax requisition for 2026 versus 2025, that 352,000, 4.81 increase year over year. The residential portion is only going up 2.2%. Whereas you can see that the heavy industry is going up 7 and businesses going up 8. Now, again, factors for those are that we had significant increases in the asset values of business and major industry. Residential was basically flat. So that's why you're kind of seeing, this is what we talked about before, that here's where that tax allocation shift changes. So this is just 2026, so not bad, overall, you kind of say, okay, that's, 6.6, not too bad. I mean, still 4.81% is a big increase. Then we go into 2027, and you can see that the overall tax increase is going up basically $4 million. So 12.12%, and in 2028, it's going up another top of that, almost another $2.5 million, 7.1%. It does drop down in 2029. And then by 2030, which will be kind of the next election cycle, you can see you're at $26 million basically versus 21. So no matter what's going on there, you're going up $5 million in tax requisition just in the RDKE on the services that we share. And so some of these next slides here is I just want to bring it attention to council as well to the trail community at large, that the significant increases that are coming over the next couple of years in 2027 and 2028 in particular. Again, expected increase of almost $4 million in 27 over 26, additional 2.4 million in 27 over 28. So again, you're 3.9 million in 2027. And then on top of that is another 2.4 million, right? So you're going up $6.5 billion almost in 2 years. It does drop down after that. I will note that. Don't want that to hang out there. General government is seeing the biggest increase. City of taxpayers in 2027 will see a 500K or 120% increase in that tax requisition for that service alone. Again, in 2028, it'll go up another $290,000 from our taxpayers. And I do know, like I said, repeating myself, but it does drop down in 2029. There's nothing in the information for the staff report, so that's one thing that about what's happening. Again, they're focused on 2026, but you can see these large numbers. My understanding though is that there's looking at some trail improvements at the building here. So again, how much of that is part of that, I don't know, but just on that general government alone, like I said, you're looking at $6.4 million. And so that must be, I don't know how much of it relates to that, or so we got some more information to look into on that. But then the other one too is just ongoing every year. Fire services and regional waste are proposed to rise by approximately 8% each year from 27 to 2030. That's on top of a 2026 increase of 9% and 20% respectively. So 4 8, 32. Plus 20 year up at 52% on regional waste in 4 years. So anyway, for me, it's just really important because I know these next slides kind of just show where those increases are hitting. If you want to see, fire protection still a bigger number, but it's 9%. You can see regionalized waste is almost 120% increase on the general admin, and another 31%, another 32% increase in 2028. Again, 8% and almost 9% for the other two big services. The other part that I really want to pull out is that they are projecting that the East End Regional Sewer will stay flat for all of those years. And I'm not convinced that after we get operations going and that also doesn't change. It just right now, here's where we're at. We know that the increase is mainly because of trying to pay the debt that's going to be added to this. But I have a sense that once they start using staffing and materials and electricity and the chemicals they need to use, likelihood is that that's not staying flat itself either. Now, again, I'm not saying at all that there isn't important work that's done here or isn't valuable reasons for it, but I just want council to be aware, hopefully the community to be aware of some huge tax increases that are in the pipeline. And yeah, we're a partner to them. It's not as easy at the regional district as it can be here. I find that the city really works hard at being efficient and trying to find areas of opportunities we've talked about for revenue increases, looking at areas of efficiencies, investing, yes, in capital, but if that improves our bottom line efficiencies, those are the sorts of things that we're doing. As an example, being able to now use that heat recovery program to be able to mean that we're paying less for our electricity and for our gas, right? These are the sorts of things that really need to be focused on. And we do that here. And I think that when I also look out, and again, I also really want to reiterate, and I'll show you when we get to the next meeting on taxes. We're in pretty good shape, I would say, overall for our tax increases as a municipality here. But when you see the pressure, Mayor talked about it when I was provincially, we see what's happening federally. The billions of dollars that are going on that has no tax revenue that offset it. It is a bit scary going down in the future. But if you could see where the tax increases and that slide, I think that I've shared with you many times of, here's what 2020, 3's taxes were, here's 24, here's 25, and then just looking at what those increases have been for many municipalities. It's not lost on me, Councillor Hanson, and I know at this table that people are tapped out and things are going up and things are challenging. So we know that we work hard here, not to say that they don't work hard there, but just really need to understand sort of what, is it, I think sometimes it can be a bit more disconnected at that regional district side because you've got such a large population that very hard to sort of rally. And again, I'll be curious too. Will be a rally of the community here because we're talking about some taxes, at this table, and then you gotta get that responsibility to talk to our business community, to talk to our residential community. That is different when you're at a regional district, just because it is such a huge geographical area with pockets of the community. Doesn't make it easy. They also do their best on trying to have their board meetings both in Trail and in Grand Forks, so it's not kind of like that one-stop shop. If you want to find out what's happening in the municipality, you can come here. Anyway, I don't do this to scare you. I'm just letting you know that in the current year for 2026, things aren't too bad. Again, it's still up 4.81% over the previous year. And what you'd be aware.
Councillor Hanson, go ahead.
Sorry, just a question. I was just noting, if we can get some information on that general admin, that I think is really important for us to understand. The other thing I noted was, the increase in the building inspection, services, as well as the culture, arts and rec for the Lower Columbia that we pay into. Could you just share a little bit more about what we actually are funding through those things?
Well, building inspection, I know that, again, I can just maybe get you answers on a few of those. One of the things that we notice is that, like building inspection, they've got like a new EV vehicle going purchased every year for the next 5 years sort of thing. So some of these things are those capital cost components that are coming. On the culture and rec, I just give you a moment here. I'm gonna stop sharing so we can go and find that for you. So talk amongst yourselves as a.
Well, it'd be nice to find out what was happening with the other services as well. That's a huge increase.
There's some big increases there, and again, they are an entity that fire equipment is not getting less expensive. That's the one thing, and the demand for or wanting to get a fire truck. How far out do you actually have to order a truck to get the truck? They're hugely expensive, and then on top of it, the pressure on because of the insurance underwriters that say that this truck can only be used for X. I mean, we have a truck with like 15,000 kilometers on it. It's like, oh, well, can't use that truck anymore because it's been old for 20 years. And so I know that in City of Nelson, we worked really hard with fire underwriters. We had our own mechanics take care of those trucks, and so. Again, it was a process, but you had to submit information as to this, and we were able to get 10-year extensions on some of these vehicles. Well, not buying a truck of that value at 20 years versus 30 years is a huge savings to the taxpayer. So again, those are some of those questions that, again, I'm not, I can ask some of these questions, but it's also very difficult as an outsider that's not part of the regional district to say like, hey, you need to really buckle down on some of these things. And part of it is as well is it's not easy when you've got situations like the Janelle fire. They did look at trying to shut that down, and that would have been I think a significant savings. But the public outcry is such, and then you've got those individuals there, it makes it super hard to make those decisions, much like, again, some of the questions that are going to come to this table about what we do and how we do. So those are the things. I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just saying to you, it's sometimes seems like, oh, we could just do this, or we could make those changes, and I think that some of them need to come, and it's sometimes at what point, what does push come to shove kind of thing is. Because I think the taxpayers have to.
Okay, Councillor Butler has his hand up.
Oh.
Go ahead, Councillor Butler.
Just some comments, and I think like Colin, I don't want to put any more pressure on you, but I think some of these questions are difficult and some of them have to be quite asked and questioned. And my comment is actually one of this, and it goes back, and I don't know if a motion is required for it or not, but thank you very much. A few meetings ago, we established a policy or a bylaw on remuneration for council and mayor in trail, which I think was long overdue. And I think Mayor Jones would agree with me too. That was always a difficult subject. However, recently in the news, City of Nelson mayor makes twice the city of Trail, the mayor of Trail, and councillors make nearly two and a half times more in Nelson. So I, as a councillor, want to have it on record that I hope that the remuneration working group going forward doesn't look at it as just an easy, oh, let's increase everybody's salary on council to groupings in like communities around ours. That's our responsibility to ask these hard questions. I would like to see a limit, because to go from the current to the 75,000 of the mayor of Nelson is going to be a huge increase. And you talk about where you can have efficiencies. So like if we have to have a motion on the table to go forward that council's remuneration going forward can only be linked to a inflationary or an inflationary plus something to work it over a gradual period of time, such as 10 years, to bring it into line with other municipalities, I would be all for that. But this simple saying, well, that's what it is and that's what it's everywhere else. We have to be more aware, we have to be more disciplined than just simply going that route. That's the easy way out. So I would really encourage you, and I know you're at the table, but we need to ask these questions of the regional district. Huge amounts of money are going there. We're now faced with pressures from one of our biggest taxpayers requesting a lower amount. I can see future groups wanting the same thing, which I think is totally fair. Why not? I can think of neighborhoods in Trail that pay 5 or 6% of the city's tax revenue based on a simple number of homes. So I really, really, really want to see some discipline going into these negotiations, rather than just this sort of answer of like, well, it's just the way it is. Thank you.
And then I would just, Mayor, just to respond to that. Certainly, when we looked at the comparables both before for Citra, there was no idea that we would be looking, I think, at going to what's happening in Nelson. Nelson is a much different animal with Nelson Hydro and other kind of police and fire that they're responsible for. So I hear you.
I would also argue, though, that the mayor of Trail is also responsible for one of the largest employers in the province.
Fair. You give me a job. One of the questions though for me is, just to be clear for council, is that the committee will come with those sorts of things. I think also that the people that we're going to choose are going to be reasonable, and we're going to provide them sort of with the information that we're getting from the other entities, municipalities in our area that are equitable to us. Nothing, it's actually exactly the same, but just remember that council will be the one that will vote on whatever they bring forward. If they're like, hey, I'm comfortable with this. We do currently have sort of a situation where we do have an inflationary increase that's already built in, so we don't get too far behind. And so it may just be a case of like, the salary is good where it's at. That could be an outcome. And if it's something that is higher than that, it will be an explanation, but it would be incumbent upon this council to look at that report and say that they would want to move forward on it, or stay the same, or so that all of this will be in your council's hands to make that decision. It's not like the committee comes along and says, here's what it is, and you have to say, yes, that's not the case.
Okay, sorry, Councillor, did I, go ahead, Councillor Cashel.
Is there somebody else?
Did I miss you? I missed you before. Oh,
No,
no,
I
I
think
thought
Councillor
Councillor
Butler.
Butler. Okay,
No,
go
I'm
ahead.
just touching on what Councillor Hanson said. I mean, general admin, like, what is it? And I'm thankful that you're gonna look into that, because, going from $413,000 in 2026 to over 900,000 in 2027, I mean, like, that's what I have here in bright highlighted, what is it, like, we need to know the facts around that, and the other thing is, I'm prepared to make a motion that, if permitted through the chair, that, council request a staff report on the feasibility of the city hiring its own building inspector. I'd like to throw that motion out there on the floor, if I may.
Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Is there any further discussion on that?
Well, I'm just looking at the numbers, thank you, Mayor Jones, and 340,000 for this year, it's going up 352 next year. I understand the building inspector would probably cost the city, 120, 140. Maybe we can get a used pickup truck for them to use, and we might be in the gravy. That's what I'm looking at. So unless, and that's why I'm asking for the staff report, the feasibility factor around it, because there may be something missing from that particular statement. Thank you.
Councillor Benson, do you have a
Just
question?
to clarify, general manager.
Well, it's feasibility, determined, departmental change.
Well, and just quickly to add to what Councillor Cashel says, I think it is our responsibility to look at different ways to save money for the taxpayers. And I think as we go along, if things like this come up, like the building inspector position, that's what we have to start looking at. And we need to start finding ways to keep our taxes lower as much as we can. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea. Council Martin.
Thank you through the chair. I agree 100%. There is a push around the board to start trying to get it under control. I don't want to get too far into monies that might be going to something we might have to go into close for. But I think that's a great motion. I'll support that 100%.
Okay.
I was just clarifying with Mr. Moorhead if we should be going into close, that's what I was asking.
Mr. Moorhead.
And just to clarify, if it is related to labor in terms of moving forward, if council were to see that after a feasibility report, that can be discussed. But that would be based around certain parameters of positions and how that works in terms of labor relations, not necessarily on a service that's coming to the city.
Thank you.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Does anybody need it repeated? Okay, so all those in favor of the motion? That was unanimous, thank you. Okay, Mr. McClure.
So I just looking at the staff report that goes for the culture, arts and recreation of the Lower Columbia, which is what we're part of, and it says that this service provides operational funding to recreational societies and provides a flow through of funds from Columbia Basin Trust grants to municipalities of Roslyn Trail, Warfield, Beaver Valley, Electoral Area B. It's kind of talks about that it's the history, it's that they do this every year, they use kind of a CPI. And that there's been no changes to the work plan since previously presented, so I'll have to go back and find out what exactly was in the plan.
Okay, sorry, Councillor Hanson.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you, Ms. McClure. Yeah, just trying to understand how that they're asking for more money, but it's a flow through from CBT, but it funds the same things that they're asking us to fund, but we're getting money and requests for funding for arts and grants as well.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Thank you. Sorry, you can understand my confusion.
I do.
Yeah.
Councillor Benson.
And through the chair, keeping in mind that we have added a line item for arts on our normal operations budget now, right? So are we double dipping there?
Well, again, I'll have to take a look. All that's on with this particular one. It's one of the small ones, so sometimes you, right or wrongly, it's sort of, you start to look at the eye-popping ones and you don't necessarily focus on the ones that are smaller, so I know it's.
The 20%.
Yes, exactly,
Not that 2%.
exactly.
So they, no.
Yes, no, agreed.
Totally. Counselor Martin,
Thank you through the chair. I hope it's time. I don't know if we need a motion for this to invite the CAO from the regional district meeting and maybe accompanying staff to come to a future council meeting to answer some of the questions that we have.
Great idea.
Budget in that, but Nanza.
second, thank you.
It's good.
Is there, so Counselor Hanson second that. Is there any other questions or comments before we make that motion? No? Okay, all those in favor? And that was unanimous as well. Yeah.
Okay, that was all that I had for that side.
Okay.
And unfortunately, put Mr. Whitehead's in the hot seat now. For any kind of budget conversations as it should have been
No
earlier.
money for you.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome, Cam. So yes, we're looking forward to your presentation and I will just get you to go ahead.
Sure thing. So, the slides before you may have seen, should have seen already, 2 months ago, I've been asked to come back as a sort of supplemental to the, 2025 report and 2026. Budget. So, I'm here to talk about, essentially our ask for next year. It's a bit of an unusual year, because we are coming, as one ask, for 3 organizations. That's the LCC DTS, Community Future South Kootenay, and the Trail District Chamber of Commerce. And so we've had reached an agreement where we can, I can come on behalf of them to ask for them, just to assist with, clarity, accountability, and that there'll be one, contract moving forward, one contact, which is me, to talk to, and one report, that we'll be presenting in the quarterly. So that will be supported with new governance. That will, and as also a collaborative 3-year regional economic development strategy, which we have already started and are working through the first draft. So really looking forward to the opportunity that one contract will bring. And the major thing and the major why this arrangement is that, from my perspective, this allows us to go and ask for more money. It has a more leverage potential than it is in through one contract. It can go to the provincial government and the federal governments, and to leverage all the funds that go to the various economic development organizations in the area. So I'm here to answer questions about the activities coming up. We're, you say we're amalgamating all 3 organizations' activities into one ask this year, for a combined ask of 159,000. Of which 25,000 will go to Community Futures and 34,000 will go to the chamber. So, in this new arrangement, we will be supporting each of the categories of economic development, depending on our organizational strengths. So if we go to the perfect, that's the right slide. So for business retention and expansion through small and medium enterprise supports, these are things that we have collaborated on for a long time. The business after business monthly events will continue to be run by the chamber. The LCC DTS will work with the chamber to complete a business walkthrough this year. Community Futures and the LCC DTS will be working on entrepreneurship training. So this is the Start of Business Advisory program, which they have submitted a grant application for and regular workshops. That's all 3 of us. So you're going to see much better coordination this year. We have really good cooperation. We're meeting frequently. It's every week at this moment with working lunches. And really excited about the opportunity of the sort of new chapter of economic development in the area. Not least with the new executive director, Cameron Farr, who we're working with closely now. So, beyond this BRE, SME, sorry for the acronyms, we are going to continue working with the Trail Downtown Improvement Committee. We're going to have downtown trail business engagement, not least with the business walk survey. And you will see this year as many farmers markets as last year. We're excited to continue that on and support that. Those are 69 markets and craft fairs this year as last, and look towards supporting them to get operationally sustainable on their own. On the next slide, we're going to continue. So Metal Tech Alley has been the major business expansion and investment attraction, not just domestic investment from the province and the feds, but also foreign direct investment. So Metal Tech Alley has been continually successful for 8 years, but this year you're going to see a major expansion under me. I've already hired 2 project leads just in the last month. We're going to be working towards developing some major projects that we're going to look for funding from the province and the federal government. We've already started an industrial zoning and regulation review, including a report from our registered planning professional, which is now available. And we're continuing to engage the regional metallurgical sector, particularly from a industry roundtable that happens every 6 weeks. That's to identify just different improvements to make investment business expansion a little bit easier. We're working on working through 2 pretty major investment opportunities on the foreign direct investment side. So Graphite One is a Canadian-based company with American operations. It's mostly American owned, so it counts as foreign direct investment. They're looking at a place to establish a graphitization plant, and they're in direct contact with us on a weekly basis and are studying land. Have been working on power availability to site a fairly substantial industrial operation. When we're talking about, I heard in the last presentation about economic diversification and diversification of the tax base. These are the things that are going to be looking for, and it's our organization that sort of stick handles that forward. And another opportunity I'd love to just sort of highlight is, companies that in the area that produce, so KC Recycling produces lead and polypropylene. These are the component recycled lead and polypropylene, which are the ingredients for battery manufacturing. And so we've been working with Canadian Energy and working on our way to connect in with Canadian Tire for maybe there's an opportunity for a fill and form plant here. This will bring not just more jobs, but also because when you create the batteries, you also close the recycling supply chain that would increase the amount of recycling will go on here, which would be just this sort of circular economy benefit for the area. So we are, always the champion for the area. This is when we have elected officials from all over the province, showing them around, telling to the story of Metal Tech Alley is an unusual and extraordinary place in British Columbia. That means that we're going to be, prime contacts for the AKBLG tour. We're going to do a Metal Tech Alley tour in mid-April. I'm going to be a representative for the region at the BC Web Summit and the BC EDA Summit. That's the Economic Development Association. This is one where we can talk about what everybody else is doing in the province and the things that I can bring and share. And this year, particularly advancing a pretty major application for Pacifican. This is the economic development body of the federal government. For a very substantial ask this year. So these are the things that we are continuing to do with support from the city. And then the final slide is this more general regional coordination, which occurs with the funding from the city of Trail. Advancing Trail's interests in these regional projects. So that means we're advancing the Imagine Kootenai project. We're looking at several market housing initiatives that's identifying and then bringing to developers with the Lower Columbia Affordable Housing Society. Working directly with the Kootenai Film Commissioner to identify new locations, specifically in Trail, other sponsorship opportunities, kind of echoing success in other small towns. We're looking to advance the South Kootenai tourism strategy. That's a partnership between the Chamber and Selkirk College. And looking at opportunities for sort of a trail specific tourism strategy. And going to participate in the West Kootenai Career Fair and another to be determined workforce development event. And then, the last two, the LCC DTS is the designated regional stream for the BC Provincial Nominee Program for Entrepreneur. These are potential investors of over $100,000 that want to relocate into Trail. And so we vet those applications and have several site visits every year. And we make references to them to the program. So I've made 2 of those last year, quite a significant amount of work. We get about 3 or 4 applications every week. It's a desirable place for international investors to come and invest. And then finally, working on some food security and sustainability initiatives that's not just production, but and sustainability, but also potentially recovery. So looking at several projects that have happened in Grand Forks related to supermarkets and repurposing for use in school districts, etc. So these are there's an immense amount of work to do, supported by the City of Trail and the RDKB. So I'm here to answer any questions and make myself available.
Okay, thank you, Cam. Looks like you have a busy future next few months here. I don't know, does council have any questions? Councilor Cashel, go ahead.
Actually, had her hand up first, Councilor Benson.
Okay, go for it.
It's, anyway, there's lots of information coming in around Middle Tech Alley. One suggestion I would like to just throw it on there is as a tour, maybe council can be invited to participate in a hands-on kind of look at this operation so we have a better understanding of it. You mentioned foreign investment through the chair. Can you elaborate on the amount that you received, or is that still confidential?
There's no amounts that we receive, so it's about facilitating foreign direct investment. And so if there is a plant that opens operations, then there'll be numbers to share.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess lastly, through the chair, this is kind of the generic question, but as part of my role as a councillor representing the taxpayers, is just, will there be measurable indicators such as number of businesses assisted, investment attracted, or jobs supported? So council can evaluate the effectiveness of this funding. So that's my ask, and thank you very much for your presentation, Dr. Boyan.
Okay, Councilor Benson.
Thank you through the chair. I was wondering if you could speak a bit more about the South Kootenai tourism thing with the chamber and
The strategy.
I believe they came and presented to us at council about this, didn't they? And we said, no, we passed on that, didn't we?
And again, I'm not sure which one, when he says that was a presentation that, I can't remember, but it was a much larger project. I don't know if that's what this one is. I can't see if it's inside the dollars that you're talking about it. I don't necessarily know that it would be the one that they presented to us last year, Mr. Whitehead.
So it's not the same as what was presented last year, and we're talking about the regional coordination for this project. So it wouldn't be a specific dollar figure for this contract. It is more about that we're going to continue to take the recommendations of the South Kootenai tourism strategy and move them forward.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
I don't see anything from Councilor Bader. Go ahead, Councilor Hanson.
Thank you, through the chair. So can you just share kind of there's been an increase in ask in both community futures as well as the chamber. So can you just share a little bit why the increases kind of both of those parties?
So my understanding is that they received approximately the same 2 years ago. And so the last year was a decrease for all three of our organizations at 19% related to the budget constraints. And so it is about going back to the 2024 levels. And then specific to to community futures is an ask to be more reflective of the number of hours that they work on economic development projects for the city of Trail. So there is a breakdown of those, the anticipated hours per activity that I'm becoming to share with council as well as with the chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you to the chair. You're coordinating the monies, further to what Councilor Hanson said, that will be allocated to community futures. And the chamber, are you also going to be kind of auditing and giving some assurance that they're following through? Are you taking on that role as well? Kind of an overview auditing role as well?
Yeah, that's right. So we'll have a governance structure that will, be able to hold accountable for monies received through the flow through arrangement with the LCCTS.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I just have a quick question because right now it looks like a lot of the work that you're doing is like creating partnerships and just trying to get that groundwork work done to for future opportunities, I guess, in the region. I'm kind of wondering what the city of Trail, what else can we be doing to help support you? That's my first question. And the second question is more like a vision looking forward, looking ahead, is what kind of jobs or job opportunities do you see coming to Trail through the work that you're doing right now?
Yeah, well, so the money really helps. It's a huge boon for an economic development organization to have the support of not just the municipality, but also the regional district. And the partnership here is literally textbook worthy. It's something to talk to Dr. Sarah Breen, regional innovation chair for rural economic development. This is an example for other areas where the collaboration of 5 municipalities and 2 regional district areas is a very enviable one. That from that cash allows us to go and leverage with the provincial and federal government. And I can see that, Trail has been putting its money where its mouth is and wanting real economic development and the diversification investment. We're open for business, for industry friendly. I think this is an excellent signaling. I think hosting the AKBLG is a wonderful opportunity to showcase that with other local governments in the boundary area. And continuing to host delegates from Victoria and Ottawa. Just to tell them the story a little bit more broadly. This is a region with a globally important supply of critical minerals, and specifically, creates 25%, a quarter of the world's annual supply of uranium. So it's a big deal, and especially in a world where supply chains are getting increasingly under threat. That this is a really great story for Canada to be able to produce its own materials, and then this work is intended to bring jobs in innovation and commercialization of those minerals specifically. So we're looking for high scale, high tech jobs. And the support services that come along with that. So that's engineers, it's contractors, it's trades. It's a broad gamut. And like those people that come here for those jobs are going to need services. So it's a broad approach that will bring money and high paying jobs and to support the community more broadly.
That's great. Okay, thank you. I don't see Councilor Gosper. Any questions? Any other questions for Kim? No? Go ahead, Councilor Hanson.
Sorry, thank you, through the chair. So the last meeting that or the presentation we had regarding the Lower Columbia Affordable Housing Society. Is that they were taking a rest on doing anything, just so they had an organizational restructure because they just didn't have capacity. So as I'm looking into this going advanced market housing initiatives. Are they now back and planning to take on more projects? And how are they diversifying where they're actually doing these projects? Because, I mean, if we're funding or contributing to funds to build more stuff in Roslyn and Fruitvale, where is that coming back to the amount we're putting in to increase housing in our area?
So, my understanding, yes, they do have the capacity, so they just hired, an executive director, 2 or 3 months ago, who's up to speed, and I've been working with Jan and Finya, the executive director, on identifying projects. They would be providing the bulk of the labor, and this is not related to funds that would be going to them. But they have indicated that the LCC DTS would provide a role for supporting supporting material related to the need for market rental housing specifically to support economic development more generally. So that's the function that we would play. It's a bit convoluted, but it's not a direct ask from the LC Affordable Housing Society, and that my organization is focused on the market housing side, and where that is located is that's their organizational mandate to find places to build. So I'd have to talk with them specifically about the location of them, but I know that these arrangements with BC housing and decent builds is typically a municipality would provide land, and that then an organization would apply for funds to build a market housing facility, and then it would be taken on by something like the LCHS to operate. So that's typically the arrangement. We're open, I'm sure they would be open to ideas from council about this full land that would be available for such projects, but that would be. But yes, so from our perspective, we're participating in their work.
Okay,
Good question.
That is
no other questions?
sometimes I have them.
Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
coming in today, Pam,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
and sitting through our tax update. Okay, so I think we're on to other reports of it. And the first one is the Family Action Network of the Lower Columbia, and it's an application for a rental waiver. I'm not sure if there's any questions on this, but the application from the Family Action Network of the Lower Columbia for a rental waiver in the amount of $506 associated with their use of the Cominco Gymnasium on May 30th for a Kids Connect session and a map making showcase. Councilor Benson, are you moving up? Okay. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? And that was carried. And the next item is from the Trail Fair Society, and it's also an application for a rental waiver. And it is for the in the amount of $125 associated with their use of Jarrow Park on June 10th for the teddy bear picnic. I would like to make a friendly motion or amendment to this rental waiver that we approve the full amount of $250.80. Thank you, Councilor Hanson. All those in favor?
Can I just ask a question?
I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How come for fair and not for the fan? Did you not do?
Well, I'm sorry, I thought that fan was the full amount that they were asking for, we were giving to them.
Okay,
So, yeah.
that
It's
it's
always
50%.
Oh, okay. Oh. Oh.
just in terms of fairness.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah, I didn't realize that that's how it worked.
Yeah, it's 50%.
Yeah, the rental waiver is always set at 50%
Okay,
for rental waivers.
okay, my apologies. I don't know. Okay, what do we want to do with that? Just
Well,
leave it as it is?
I support the motion to do it, then I would maybe go back and make an amended motion that we cover 7.A in the same fashion.
Okay, thank
Make
you.
it fair.
Councillor
Yeah,
Cass.
we can reconsider.
Okay,
I think it's our only option.
Can we please just deal with the amended motion?
Okay.
Um,
for the
For-
Family Action Network.
no, for fair. For Trail Fair Society rental waiver, in the full amount. So that's the amendment. For item B.
Okay, thank you. So all those in favor? Thank you, that was carried.
And then we can reconsider, item A.
A, so reconsideration to make that rental waiver to the full amount.
I would make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Paschal. All those in favor? And that was carried. Okay, is there anyone online for question period?
We have one person online, so if you would like to ask a question during question period, could you please use the raise hand function? please? I see no questions.
Okay, thank you. So a resolution to rise from the committee with the whole. And the resolution to exclude the public, oh, sorry. Resolution, thank you, Councillor Hanson. All those in favor? And that was carried. So the next item is a resolution to exclude the public, recess the public meeting until 6 p.m. and immediately convene into close. The resolution that pursuant to section 90 of the community charter, the public be excluded from this portion of the meeting as the subject matter being considered relates to the following. Community Charter Section 1E, the acquisition, disposition, and expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality. And the Community Charter Section 91G, litigation of potential litigation affecting the municipality. And Community Charter Section 91L, discussion with municipal officers and employees respecting municipal objectives, measures, and progress reports for the purpose of preparing an annual report under the Section 98 Annual Municipal Report. And further, that the public portion of the meeting be recessed until 6 p.m. And further, that the council immediately resolve and put a closed portion of the meeting. Thank you, Councillor Hanson. All those in favor?
Second.
Yes, Councillor Wilson has seconded, sorry. All those in favor? And that was carried. Thank you.